Hi, so day two of the Oval Test is over, and what an eventful day it has been. It was a fantastic day, and it seemed we almost was 2 to 3 days of cricket in just one day. The action has moved very fast, and the game has now gone towards such a decisive space that it looks tomorrow may be the final day of this series. We won't be surprised if it happens because runs are coming, wickets are falling, and momentum is shifting so fast that it is very difficult to keep a tab on the game because it is moving so fast. The day started with India 202, 204 for 6, and they were trying to consolidate it and try to see if they could reach a total of 250, 260, which would be formidable on a challenging pitch with a green top and overcast conditions. But England were a much improved bowling side today. They had come better prepared and they bowled the balls in the right channel and allowed the ball to swing and seam, and they dismissed India for 224, snatching the last 4 wickets for just 6 runs. And that was a typical of India's tail-enders collapse, which we have been watching now very regularly. And when they dismissed India for 224, the momentum was already in their favor, and they consolidated on that momentum by going on a rampage in the remaining period of the first session to punish the Indian bowlers and try to take the game out of India's grasp. In just 16 overs, they added 109 runs, losing just 1 wicket, that of Duckett, and that means they were going at a run rate of 6.8 runs per over, and it seemed that they had already reached halfway stage of India's total, and if they would go at that run rate and if they would be managing to conserve their wickets in the second session, they could put the Indian bowling in real trouble and real defense, because India's bowling had just 3 seamers. They have not taken a 4th seamer, and considering the kind of hammering all the seamers were getting from the England batters, it looked that if that would continue in the second session, India didn't have even backup bowlers to fall back on or to do a containing job. Maybe by the second session, the game would be dead and buried for India. There would be nothing left, because England could easily reach India's total, and if they would be just 2 to 3 wickets down at 224, the game would be almost dead and over for India. But then this Indian team is known for its resilience, its tenacity, its never say die spirit, and its ability to fight back from lost positions. They showed it in the last test by batting out for 143 overs and drawing a game which they should have lost. And this time again they showed this different kind of fight back spirit by their bowling. In the second session, the 3 seamers came much better looking and much better in control and with discipline. Siraj looked so menacing that no batter could actually play him. He looked unbeatable, unplayable, and he started moving the ball prodigiously, and he took the 2 crucial wickets, that of Pope and Root, to break the back of England batting and put them in the back foot, and ultimately they took 6 wickets in the second session for just 106 runs of 26.5 overs. That means England could score at only 3.95 runs per over. That means they were almost half, their run rate was almost half that of the first session, and they lost 6 crucial wickets, and they were reduced to 215 for 7, which effectively meant 8, because Wokes was out of this match, so he could not, we were not expected to bat. So that means India had reduced them to 215 for 8. They just had 2 wickets left, and in the third session, India finally took those 2 wickets. Of course, Harry Brooks scored a brilliant 50, and he was fantastic even on a difficult pitch. But in the company of the 2 last tail-enders, he could not take the game away from India completely. So they got all out for just with just a lead of 23 runs. They were all out for just 247, and that meant India was almost in this game 50-50, because 23 runs is not such a formidable lead. So India had managed to breeze the gap in terms of momentum from the first session to the second session and to the third session dramatically. And when India came into bat, they knew that they were not under so much pressure because the lead was not very heavy, but they knew that they had to follow the same kind of approach that England openers did in order to put the pressure back on England, because they knew if they would wait, then their wickets could fall at any time. But if they could score briskly, then England would be feeling the pressure, because beyond 23 runs, whatever they would score, that would be getting added to the lead, and England would be finding it very tough on this difficult pitch in the 4th innings to chase down. And Jaiswal went on a rampage, and he played just like Duckett without calling it a ball, but he played the same kind of strokes. He started hitting 4s and 6s and took real liking for the English bowling attack and put the England bowlers right away on the back foot. and India was also started running away with the game with 5 runs per over. Ultimately at 46 Rahul got out, and there was some kind of a balance maintained by the English team. But then Jaiswal was not going to stop, and he continued to bat ferociously. And this is where England did their last bit of mistakes, which was actually which can prove to be so fatal, because England dropped 3 catches. They dropped 2 catches that of Yashasvi Jaiswal, the batter whom you would not like to give an inch, because he scored a 50 of just 44 balls. That means he's going at more than 100 strike rate and run rate of more than 6 runs per over. So if you allow him to get dropped, you are actually letting the match running away from you. And if tomorrow England loses this match, they would really be realizing that they would be really ruining the catches they have dropped of Jaiswal. Jaiswal was at 20 when Brook dropped him. It was again an easy catch, and he was at 40 when an absolute sitter was dropped by Dawson. And you remember Dawson has dropped Gill in the 4th test at Manchester, which proved to be so costly for England. England could have actually won that game if they could have grabbed Gill's wicket after the India were actually effectively 0 for 3. So he dropped it when Gill was hardly in a commanding position. And then today he again dropped Jaiswal when he was on 40, and now Jaiswal has already crossed 50. So he has already scored more than 30 runs after being dropped at the beginning by Brook, and more than 12 runs after being dropped by Dawson. And the way he's batting, if he bats for an hour or two tomorrow in the morning, he can very easily take the game away from England permanently, and in a very decisive way, because he would have reached then around 80 to 90 very fast. And if he reaches 90, then the Indian total would have gone to a level where England would find it very difficult to chase down. So those 2 catches they dropped, and there is one more catch they dropped when Crawley dropped another sitter of Sai Sudarshan, but luckily England managed to dismiss Sai Sudarshan shortly afterward. So hopefully that has not been turned out to be very costly. But the 2 catches they have dropped of Jaiswal may really come back to haunt them, and may turn out to be the decisive ones on the turning point of this series in terms of the series result and in terms of England's quest for winning the series. It can very well end up with a 2-2 draw, and if that happens, and England would be really ruining those catches dropped. But there is also some irony in everything that has been happening in this series. There is some kind of irony which is happening. If you remember, it is Jaiswal who kept on dropping almost 4 catches in the first test, which turned out to be the turning point and ensured that in spite of all the dominance India had, India turned out to be the losers and England won that test. And how much irony one can notice that in the 5th test, after so many weeks, it is again England's dropped catches against Jaiswal, who had dropped those catches in the first test, which may turn out to be the deciding factors, which may turn out to be the turning points of this test. And England, if it manages to lose the test, then they would be really thinking about those drop catches. But anyway, India is already 52 runs ahead. They are 75 for 2, and they have still 8 wickets in their hand. And we know India is playing with a very deep batting lineup, even though their number 9, 10, 11 batters have been really disappointing, the tail-enders, but they can bat up to 8. And if they manage to bat against England bowling for 2 sessions tomorrow, they would have already established a lead of around 250 or maybe 225 to 250. That can be really daunting for England batting second time, because remember, they would be already 9 down when they would be already 1 wicket down when they would be starting the chase, because Vokes won't be batting. So with just 9 wickets, they have to win this, and they would have to also negotiate the bowling of India in a second time, which would be much improved and much better control, because Indian bowlers also would have learned their lessons from the first session today, and they would be coming better prepared. And also remember that England's track record throughout in the last few seasons and also in this series has been really bad when they have been under pressure or when there has been something in the pitch while batting in the second innings. They have never lasted 60 overs. So if you see today also, they were allowed for 50 plus overs, just 50, a little above 50 overs. And also in the second test when they lost to India, they could not bat out 60 overs on a perfectly batting pitch So they have been struggling, and also at Lords in the third innings, that means their second innings, they could not last 60 overs and they were all out for just 191. So yes, they have been struggling when there has been pressure. They are not known to be very technically sound, or they are not known to be able to grind it out or hang in or try to really show some applications. They have only one dimensional cricket, that is to go after the bowlers, and if India manages to set a target of 225 to 250, it would be really challenging unless the conditions drastically become different. There would be sunlight and the pitch would stop moving around or darting around so much as it has been till now, which looks very unlikely because the ball at 65 overs old, also at 50 overs old, also is seeming around so prodigiously. So it looks that this is a kind of pitch where the ball would continue to do a lot of trickery right throughout the match, unless there is a drastically difference in the ground conditions or the pitch conditions or on the weather. Then England may have real trouble to chase down 225 230. So yes, it may look to be evenly poised, but I would personally feel India has a little advantage, considering that they are already 52 runs ahead. They have still 8 wickets in hand. England is one bowler down, so they have to manage with just 3 seamers, and they don't have a specialist spinner to do actually the filling job also. So the moment they go back to the bowlers like Root and Bethel, who are actually batters who just can roll around their arms a little bit on a seaming pitch like this, those kind of bowlers can be put under pressure by the Indian batters if they have wickets in hand, and then that could put India in a very, very commanding position. So I would put India at a 60 to 40 advantage at the end of day 2, though any change in the ground conditions or an inspiring bowling performance tomorrow by one of the English bowlers, or a great batting performance by Root or any of the batters from England, can bring the game in favor of England also. But right now it looks England in slightly back foot and India having a little more psychological advantage because of the dropped catches, because of one bowler being shot and one batter being shot in English camp, and also because of the Jaiswal factor. If Jaiswal would have been out today, then I would have put it as a 50-50 game, but he's still there, and England have really messed up their fielding by dropping him twice. So that may turn out to be the deciding factors. We'll come to know about it tomorrow, which way the game goes. Till then, let's wait. Good night.